Pittsburgh Steelers fans, what is going on? This is Jeff Hartman, editor of BehindTheSteelCurtain.com, with you for another episode, a round of sound of the Steelers preview. And I'm not by myself. I'm joined by the other two goons that make up the triumphant trio. That's none other than Dave Schofield. Dave, what's going on?
Howdy, Jefferson. Things are going all right. I'm just really looking forward to spending some time with two of my best friends here that we love podcasting together.
Oh, that's nice. Let's bring him. Brian's looking around wondering who he's talking about. Bryan Anthony Davis, BAD, what's up?
Hey, I am living the dream, but waking up in a cold sweat. But it's so nice to wake up next to you two.
Oh, that's nice.
I'm just glad he said it was a cold sweat.
Could have been a lot of other things with Bryan Anthony Davis. We know that. Anyone that's been here for a while.
I'm a new man.
2 a.m.
I'm a clean boy.
Yeah. All right, but let's get right into the thick of things here. I mean, a lot of stuff has happened this week, whether it's Art Rooney II, who, well, I guess let's start there. Art Rooney did his Steelers Nation Unite. What is it, Dave? You always sit in on those. What, a conference call, so to speak?
Fan forum.
Okay, whatever. And so you sit there and Art Rooney talks, and he answers questions that people submit, or does he actually talk to fans?
The fans, actually, they have them come through on the phone. As soon as I called in, I hit *3 to see if I could be one of the ones to ask a question. And of course, they didn't get to me.
What were you going to ask?
Oh, simple. I was going to ask him how important would it be for the Steelers front office to get a new CBA by March 18th in order for them to conduct business as usual.
That's a heavy question, then, Doc. I don't know if that. But anyways,
hey, I was going to make it count.
No. I get it. I mean, you're looking for like the 3-hour answer there. I mean, so.
Yep. I'd be asking him when is like Permani's going to have a donut sandwich at Heinz Field or something like that.
And those are the questions that he was hoping to get. He was not expecting will you get a new collective bargaining agreement by the March 18th deadline of the new league year? Therefore, to set up the contracts for future blah blah. Anyway.
I would have loved the stock answer on that though. Well, David, we're weighing things all the time, and this is something we consider, but it's an effort that takes both sides. So he'll say nothing in 3 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but basically, he talked about how, and Dave, you wrote this article for the website, he's comfortable with the quarterbacks and that they're not going to sign any quarterbacks. And this was a talking point on The Standard as a Standard last night, myself and Lance Williams. They can't do anything. There's a lot of fans say Mason Rudolph sucks, Devlin Hodges sucks, Big Ben, we don't know. He's a giant question mark. They can't do anything, right, Brian? I mean, we need to lower our expectations a little bit, correct?
You know what? I mean, yeah, they're handcuffed. There is no possible way without this collective bargaining agreement. They can't. I think Dave called it last week, or maybe Tony called it last week, kicking the can down the road.
Yeah.
And that's just something that they can't do. And that's in Omar Khan special. So if they want to get back to Omar Khan football, and that's extending guys and just pushing that money down the road and signing free agents that way, then they need this collective bargaining agreement back.
Yeah.
So
Dave, go ahead, Brian. I'm sorry.
So if you're pining for a free agent, it might be pretty tough.
But what free agents out there that would actually be attractive that's not in the same similar situation as Ben? Like, you could talk Phillip Rivers. Phillip Rivers is at the end of his career. He's not the guy you would get. And I had a guy in the gym say, what about Tom Brady? I'm like, come on.
Yeah.
Seriously? Like, are we really having this discussion right now that they could pay Tom Brady? Tom Brady is happy in New England because he's not getting paid enough. You think he's going to go to Pittsburgh where they have $6 million in salary cap space? And no, I just think that's asinine. Go ahead, Dave.
Go ahead, Dave.
$6 million is pretty generous right now. No, seriously, they don't have enough salary cap space.
No, I know.
To offer their restricted free agent tenders or sign a draft class. They have to do things. Now, that's also not taking into account how much it's going to go up as well.
Yeah, they're expected to go up significantly.
Yes. So, bottom line is, now I see it all over Twitter now, but it's what my brother and I have been saying on Stat Geek for 3 weeks now. Anytime they say anything about a free agent, or the natural response, with what money? You want to sign a backup quarterback? With what money? You've got 5 on the roster, all of them at basically minimum deals, on rookie deals or minimum deals. What else are you going to do? You can't allot any more money to that position. It's already taking up $33.5 million of the salary cap this year with just one player. Yes, you're putting all your eggs in the Ben Roethlisberger basket. They were in that basket last year. Guess what? Yeah. Anyone who's got a franchise quarterback that's not on their rookie deal, they're doing it too. My goodness, what would have happened if TB12 would have gone down last year? Look at who the backup was there. No, can either of you name him?
Where?
In New England. Who was the backup for this year in New England? Thank you. You just proved my point. Yeah, I can't. I know it to hear, but I can't remember. I can't pull it out of there. I think it was a rookie. So that's just. It's how it is when you pay your quarterback. So he has to be available. He's got to be the guy, or else you're basically in defense has to carry us mode, like the Steelers were this past year.
Let's cut to yeah. There you go. Mm-hmm. Let's cut to the chase. It's 2022. Who's the Steelers quarterback for week 1? Brian, who do you think?
Case Keenum.
You love Case Keenum, man. Dave, what do you say?
Oh my goodness. Honestly, probably for a season, I'm going with Mason Rudolph.
That's what I'm going with. I think that the Steelers, unless
I don't know that it's going to go long beyond that, but at least for a little something.
I think that after Ben Roethlisberger retires, Steeler Nation should get comfortable with the similar situation they had in the late 80s, early 90s, where you have you pick up a guy, whether it's Mike Tomczak, whether it's Neil O'Donnell, you might get a few years out of him. But let's be honest, to get that guy, the Steelers had to go 6-10 in 2003, and they were awful. And that was the Tommy Maddox era, and
extremely lucky to get him at that pick still. I mean,
because that was
things
11.
fell perfect. Yeah. Things fell perfect. And the Cleveland Browns had to decide on Kellen Winslow Jr. instead of Roethlisberger, or else what would we be saying right now? We'd still be talking about one for the thumb.
Yeah. I've got other questions, but we'll hold them. So, okay. that was the main nugget that most people took away. But speaking of nuggets, and we'll call, Gummy Richards, as I was corrected by Lance, because Lance
Richard Gummies is way better.
I like it better too.
I was thinking about that today.
Well, I mean, doesn't it make sense? Richard Gummies.
I was thinking that today. I think Gummy Richards is funny, but I thought Richard Gummies was better
because it's a name.
Because
I was thinking about this while I was driving. So really, I thought maybe we talk about it. Yeah, seriously, I was, and I thought we'd talk about it more in the after party. But I think they need to vote. I mean, I love Lance. I mean,
the live chat. Do you like Richard Gummies or Gummy Richards?
But he's not the undisputed nicknamer.
That's right. That's right. I mean, technically, I think Brian Anthony Davis might have more creative names and catchphrases than Mr. Sir Lancelot.
But I love, trust me, every time I hear Richard Gummies, I giggle. Gummy Richards is just as funny. So we need you guys to vote.
Okay,
please.
So, put it up in the live chat. Let us know what you think. Richard Gummies or Gummy Richards, and majority wins. There you go. So someone keep track of that. I'm not doing it. All right. But Gummy Richards, Richard Gummies, whatever you want to call Antonio Brown, he joined 93.7 The Fan on the morning show. I believe that's what it's called. Correct, Brian?
Yes. Chris Mack, Cullen Dunlap.
He joined them it was over 20 minutes this morning. Now you can go back and you can find that interview. I believe if you go to the Fan's official Twitter page, they have links there where you can listen to the show. I listened to it during lunch today. I was stunned that he gave them that much time. And I've got to be honest with you, he was rather candid, or should I say as candid as Antonio Brown can get when it comes to an interview. Now, before we talk about the interview in specifics, I know Dave has not heard it yet, but Brian, did you listen to it? Have you heard the entire interview?
No, I've read transcripts.
Okay, so he's read transcripts. Like I said, I was fortunate enough to be able to listen to it at work today during my lunch break. And Dave, you have some transcripted stuff from an article that you wrote for BehindTheSteelCurtain.com. I want to focus on what he said about JuJu Smith-Schuster, because he kind of said everything that you would expect about the Steelers organization. He talked glowingly about Ben Roethlisberger, shockingly, said that they had a heart-to-heart. before week 17 or week 16 or week 17 in 2018. That was the famed game where he was benched and walked out and left the team and was never seen again. He said that they had a good conversation and that Ben's not the easiest person to work for, which we've known, but he was pretty candid. I was surprised, but what he said about JuJu Smith-Schuster kind of struck a chord. Dave, you have those quotes there?
Yes, I do. But I also thought you might want an update that right now, Gummy Richards is winning unanimously.
Oh my
Richard
gosh.
Gummies has nothing. Even Mr. Third and Fifth has a vote. Snowman.
Yeah. Okay. So there I have two different quotes on JuJu. I'll give you one at a time.
Okay.
Here was one. He says, I have nothing against JuJu Smith-Schuster. Why would I? I am who he wants to be. I'm in a position where he's
okay, wait. Hold on. Let's take this. Let's give this the diligence it deserves. So let's just read that.
The line. I am who he wants me to be.
No, go back.
I am
Start
who
from the
he
beginning.
wants to be.
Start from the beginning.
I have nothing against JuJu Smith-Schuster.
Stop.
Why would I?
Stop. I have nothing against JuJu Smith-Schuster. So right off the bat, you're thinking, wow, okay, let's bury the hatchet. These two guys are fine. And then he continues to talk. Go ahead.
Well, when I get to the whole second quote, he completely contradicts that. So he says, I have nothing against JuJu Smith-Schuster. Why would I? And then here's the line. I am who he wants to be.
Boom. Gut punch. What the heck is that? I am who he wants to be. Okay. So he immediately, right when you're thinking, okay, bury the hatchet, here we go. Nope. JuJu still wants to be me. Go ahead, Dave. Continue.
And then he says, I'm in the position where he's, I don't know what it says here. I pulled the transcript from somewhere else about describing to be. I don't think that's what he meant to say. He said running around with 500 yards and everyone thinks he's the world. Steelers didn't make the playoffs. That is a problem. So he took a shot at his production this year and that they didn't make the playoffs. Yeah.
Which they didn't in 2018 either. I'll tell you what, though, he really doesn't like JuJu Smith-Schuster. He really doesn't like JuJu Smith-Schuster, and he really is jealous of him and his fame in Pittsburgh. And I think he was jealous that people laughed and said, "No, was this really about the team MVP?" I think the team MVP was what just set him off. Like,
yeah, they really do.
It was it. Wait, what? The team likes this guy more than me. After all, don't try to defend this guy. I'm not saying you are, Dave, but I mean, anyone that's listening, you can't. Oh, no. He's an egotistical maniac. And that's exactly what he's saying here. I've got no problem with JuJu Smith-Schuster, except the fact that he wants to be me, and he only got 500 yards this year, and the Steelers didn't make the playoffs. And I called him Boo-Boo Smith-Schuster or something.
There's
more. But wait, it's just like on QVC. Wait, there's more.
Just remember the whole thing with the MVP. That didn't happen before he got mad and left the first time. He got mad and left, and they voted the next day. So part of the reason JuJu probably ended up MVP was because of the way AB acted the way before.
So I still think he was getting it regardless.
Oh yes, I think he was too because yeah. So anyway, I want to read this other thing because I just want to get it over with. He says, I gave the guy JuJu Smith all the positive cheat codes, all the stuff to be successful. And to watch a guy call me out when I'm moving forward, the first thing he do when I get picked, I guess I meant traded, is post me like he ready. Meaning he took exception to that that when JuJu said he was ready and posted a picture, it was against the Raiders with AB standing in the background. He took offense. It just so happened to be the most amazing play JuJu made one of the most amazing plays JuJu made that season. With that, where he basically batted the ball up to himself and caught it with his toes on the end line. So it makes sense that he would choose that picture, but AB took exception that it was his new team and he was in the background of the picture. So
now, is that where your transcript ends, Dave, or is there more? Because he goes on
about JuJu.
Okay, because he goes on to throw Hines Ward under the bus.
Yes, I have that too.
Okay, no, I did not see that.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that. Because if this isn't good
Okay.
enough, there's more. Like I said, it's like QVC every time. But wait, there's more. So Antonio Brown then goes on this rant. Bryan, what are your thoughts so far from his? You can clearly tell that there's a jealousy. It's just really, really jealous tones, don't you think?
Oh yeah, and it's one of those things. You have the script, you know what you're going to do. Okay, this is what I'm going to do because I mean, I know we going forward. We haven't gone to the part where I want to be back in the Berg. I want to be there. I love the Berg. Blah blah blah. I love Ben and all that. But the bottom line to the whole thing is, this is a guy that just wants his job back. And he's doing the old smooch Rooney. So what he's doing, he went to Home Depot. He got the proverbial 2x4s. He's nailing them together after he burnt the bridge. So he's burnt the bridge. He's putting the 2x4s all the way across, and he's just tight roping it across and doing whatever he can, but he can't help himself. There's still we still got a jab, got a shuck and jive, still got to do that. So with that being said, you know, he's lobbying, but he still doesn't quite get it. That's the thing.
Well,
Yeah.
so this might be a generational thing, but when he said I gave him the cheat codes, what did anyone else think of what I thought of when I think of cheat code? Is it a Nintendo game?
That's what I'm thinking. Like
Dave,
Madden
no, not Madden. Dave, there's one code everyone knows: up, down, left, right, AB, select, start. No, Contra. Come on, are you serious?
Never played it.
Oh my gosh,
Contra.
What? Well, I didn't expect you, Bryan, because this is after your generation. Please, I hope someone in the live chat knows that. My gosh,
I'm
that's
Super Tecmo Bowl, and that's about it.
Well, yeah, because you were probably in college when Nintendo came out.
Yeah. I had a Super NES in college, though.
Not Super NES. Not Super NES.
Yeah, but I had one in
I
college.
thought Dave would know it. Dave, up in Western
Nintendo.
Maryland, did you all have a TV up there?
Nope.
Did you have a TV up on the farm? No?
Yeah. Yes, it was.
I like that jab.
We even ended up having a color one eventually. Yeah.
Make me go up in the winter and fix those the rabbit ears.
Dude, seriously, that's what we had. We had the actually it was in the attic.
Did you have the giant satellite dish? Were you a house that had the gigantic satellite dish that took up like 20 yards in your back?
We had 4 channels. We had 2, 4, 6, and 8. Or 2, 4, and 8 were out of Pittsburgh. 6 was out of Johnstown. And if we went up and turned the antenna, we could get PBS channel 13 if we did that, which we had to when I was little to get Sesame Street. So,
well, yeah.
No,
thank you to people like
you can make fun of it all you want.
I'm just joking. I'm just messing.
Dave didn't have Duck Hunt. He didn't need Duck Hunt. He just went out.
Yeah.
I'm just thankful that there's people like Michael O'Malley and Chris Boyd and Darren Dalton and
Still with it.
Yeah, I'm trying to bring it up.
I haven't touched it. I've not messed with anything. I haven't messed with anything. Anyway, so guys, that Contra code is considered one of the greatest cheat codes of all time that everyone knew, and it gave you 100 lives in the game. And so, anyways, so that's that kind of wraps up the Antonio Brown. No, go ahead, Dave. Because Bryan
did the Hines Ward.
I do, because Bryan hasn't heard it yet.
No,
so he throws Hines Ward under the bus because he took JuJu Boo Boo Smith-Schuster under his wing. Here's what he says about Hines Ward.
He said, he didn't show me the respect I needed or gave me the support or positivity I needed. I've never been to his house, which seems to be a really big deal with Antonio Brown. About going to
Seriously, it is. But never in my house.
I never studied plays with them. I never went over how we win or to get open or how to do this right or how to do this.
That was important. Quote. Well, we have all been to each other's house, I believe.
Nope, I've never been.
You haven't been to Dave's? Okay, mm-hmm. I've been to. Well, he doesn't like you. I've been to Dave's.
I've been trying to invite you to my house. You won't come.
No, and that's why Dave. That's why I got those verbal jabs is because he's never invited me to his house. He doesn't know my kids' names. He doesn't know my kids. I've never met his kids. That's not true. I have met his kids.
Yes, you have.
Where's Jeff? Where's your friend Jeff at? He's throwing a count on him.
So Jeff has turned from Missy Matthews into AB.
I like to think I'm a mixture of both. Maybe, I don't know.
Hey, if you're gonna throw the gummies, throw my way. I like anything sugar. I don't care what it's shaped like.
I thought you were gonna say something else when you said I don't.
Guys, I don't want to make an excuse, but they say this is a big deal about AB keeps bringing up. I've never been to his house. I mean, but he was homeless. It is. So wasn't he at one point? So maybe that's a big thing.
Yeah.
But for a guy that keeps talking about he couldn't stand being disrespected. He couldn't stand being disrespected. He throws out an awful lot of disrespect.
Well,
so
he's one walking double standard, and he's the hypocrisy runs deep. I mean, he says one thing, he talks out of both sides of his mouth. You can think of however you want to say it. There's a million ways of saying what he does, and it's every single time. I mean, it's unbelievable how this guy I don't even think that he wants to come back to Pittsburgh. Like Bryan mentioned that, and I know he said he loves Pittsburgh, and I don't think Pittsburgh would ever have him back, and B, I don't think he really wants to come back to Pittsburgh. I think that he wants the people in Pittsburgh and the Pittsburgh fan base to kind of endear him a little bit. And I've always said this since he started acting in such a psychotic manner. I don't think he wants to play football anymore. I really don't. When he forced his way out of Oakland, and yes, it was Oakland at the time, when he forced his way out of that situation with the Raiders, I said to everyone on every show, I don't think he wants to play anymore. I think he's done. I think he's fed up with the fanfare. I think he's fed up with everyone constantly looking at him with a microscope. Also, what was really, really funny, and I kudos to Colin Dunlap for calling him out on this, and it got really heated during this interview when Colin Dunlap said, you know what, here's the thing. You're constantly saying that everyone's looking at you and they have their smartphones. He goes, you ever think about the fact that it's your smartphone 90% of the time that is doing the damage? And Antonio Brown didn't like that. He said, I've got a business to run and all this stuff and a brand. And he started going off about this. I'm sorry, but the whole Richard Gummy Richards, whatever you want to call it, stemmed from an IG live video that he himself filmed throwing these gummies at his 3 kids' mother in the Hollywood, Florida police. He's yelling profanities. I don't want to hear anyone say that it's someone else's fault. He never takes ownership for anything. Period. He never has. He never will. That's just the way it is with this guy. And honestly, the only reason we're talking about it today is because he brought up the Steelers. He was on a Pittsburgh radio show, and they asked him specifically about the Steelers. That's the only reason. We didn't talk about him when he, the arrests, or not the arrest. Well, we didn't talk about the arrest that much. We didn't talk about in New England when the domestic violence, or whatever you want to call it, domestic abuse, the allegations against him. We didn't talk about it. This was the Steelers. That's why we're talking about. So, guys, let's wrap this up. Dave, final thoughts.
Please. Final thoughts is that you're right. I don't want to talk about it anymore. I really don't. And like I said to you guys before we did this for the show, I'm like, there's going to be half the people out there that want to talk about this because it's part of recent Steelers history. And there's going to be half of the fan base out there that just isn't going to want to listen because they're so done with it. And I am in the second half of that. I'm kind of just done with it.
Bryan?
I don't mind talking about it because he's still news. He was a Steeler all those years. And I get a little crazy every time I say, well, we shouldn't be talking about it. He's not a Steeler. He's gone. No, he keeps coming back. And he came on a Pittsburgh radio station. Hats off to Pittsburgh for the fan for getting him on there. Mm-hmm. And I listened to them talk about this on Tuesday. I actually respect Colin Dunlap and Chris Mack and Jim Colony. I think that's a good show. And I'm glad they stood up to him. I don't think it's a good fit to ever bring him back. I disagree with you, Jeff, with the fact that I think he wants to come back, maybe not Pittsburgh, but he wants to come back to the NFL because he wants to go out on his terms. He doesn't want to be kicked out. He wants to be the guy with the last word. He's a last word type of guy. Back to you, Jeff.
I think Jeff is frozen because he's very stoic and just looking at us there. So Hello, Jefferson. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So I think that's enough Antonio Brown talk. I have a question that I was going to ask, but I'm not going to do it now because I feel like we just put a bow on it. So let's move on. We are doing something now that we have done in the past on the Steelers preview, and that is nothing more than we are going to go position by position, and we are going to preview the Steelers' current depth chart, and we're going to talk a little bit about what's going to happen in the future. We felt it to be very appropriate to start with the quarterbacks because it's not only the smallest depth chart on the team other than the kickers and specialists, but it's also what we talked about on Wednesday. Lance and I talked about the quarterbacks a lot on our standard as a standard. So if you haven't listened to that, check it out. So Dave, do you have the depth chart in front of you?
No, I have the depth chart in my mind. So
Okay.
I've got it. I
Go
mean,
ahead. So start at the top and work your way down.
it's 5. It's Ben Roethlisberger. It's Mason Rudolph.
Broken Roback.
It's Devlin Duck Hodges.
Broken Roback.
No, it's not.
No.
It's Paxton Lynch, and it is JT Barrett.
Frank
Oh,
Webb?
JT Barrett. Yeah.
Frank Webb? No, he's not a quarterback.
Ohio State. Actually, Brogan Roback, he's protected by the St. Louis Battlehawks in the XFL, so he's not coming back.
No, that's a bummer. All right, so guys, thoughts. This is what we kind of alluded to this earlier when we were talking about Art Rooney II's comments, and when you look at the quarterback depth chart, what are your thoughts about it? Because I don't think it's going to change much. Maybe you have Paxton Lynch supplant Devlin Hodges as 3. I don't know if that'll even happen. I'm not sure. Well, let's start here. Fast forward to the end of training camp. Who is your top 3? Because I think we all agree they're going to keep 3 quarterbacks on the roster. Who are the 3 quarterbacks that make the roster? We know Ben Roethlisberger. Who's the other 2? Brian, what do you think?
Mason's a definite. Mason Rudolph makes it. I mean, so you're looking at the third guy. I don't think it's Duck Hodges. I actually think it's between JT Barrett and Paxton Lynch. And I would not be surprised if Barrett gets a look.
I think I know what you're thinking. Are you thinking about the Steelers trying to go more of a athletic, maybe more of a Taysom Hill type offense where he comes in sporadically and plays? Is that what you're thinking?
You know what? Why not? That's a nice. I mean, those gimmicks have worked, and we saw it. I mean, Pittsburgh Steelers fans from the 2001, 2002 area with Antoine Randall L.
Yeah.
Actually, 2002 when he came in as a rookie. I mean, he was a gimmick guy, and it worked. And so I think we're done with Duck. Paxton Lynch. I mean, he's got the size. He's former first round pick, but how good is he? So maybe we'll see what Barrett does. The only problem with that is you don't really see them dressing 3 quarterbacks on game day.
That's a kicker. So, but Dave, what about your prediction? Who are you predicting to be the top 3?
I was going to go crazy and say that it maybe Barrett could be it, but guys, we're talking about trying to predict which 1 out of 3 guys is going to get this last spot when we've never seen 2 of them take a snap for the Steelers. Yeah. So this is a really difficult thing, but I think I'm going to agree with Brian. I think that really any 3 could have a chance, but I would not be shocked to see if Barrett could come up and do something, because this is how we are, Steeler fans. We think about guys' potential that we haven't seen and that maybe they're good. That's what we did with Hodges. So let's do it again.
Yeah, I think it's the end of the road for Duck. Unfortunately, I think a lot of fans like him. I don't mind him as a quarterback. He definitely, he has his shortcomings, but then again, so did Mason Rudolph. I'm going to say that Paxton Lynch is the 3rd. There you go. I'll say that Paxton Lynch is the 3rd.
One other thing about quarterbacks, the Steelers are going to have to, at least 1, if not 2. I don't even know that it would even be an unrestricted free agent after the draft. They're going to have to bring in a couple guys for tryouts for rookie minicamp, just because they need to have quarterbacks in order to do what they do there. So you're going to hear 2 more names a couple weeks after the draft coming in. But remember, one of those names last year was Devlin Hodges. Yep. So they would have to supplant someone to go to camp. I don't see any way they go to camp with more than 5, and they already got 5. So,
to Dave's point, Devlin Hodges was the guy like May 6th or whenever at the rookie mini camp that got a job. Who else got a job that day?
Tuzar Skipper.
Tuzar Skipper, baby.
Who is
Skipper?
2-year deal on the roster.
Tuzar.
I was going to say Frank Webb.
Frank Webb. Ralph Webb had the. Now you have me saying it.
They signed 5 guys out of rookie minicamp. I want to go back and see who they are again because I didn't think anything of them at the time.
No one does. I mean, why would you? I mean, you think these guys are just there to take reps and give people breaks, and next thing you know, they're turning heads, and you got Mike Hilton's that are making the team. So, let's do it this way to wrap up the quarterbacks because there's not a lot of talking points with the quarterback position for the Steelers. They are stuck kind of painted in a corner right now. If there was a veteran out there that you would like to bring in, I know who Brian's going to say. He's going to say Case Keenum.
I've got another one.
Oh, okay. Dave, we'll start with you though. What veteran that's out there that's available would you say, you know what, I'd bring this guy in just to be an extra insurance policy because I don't really think Mason Rudolph is ready or is that guy. And so who would that be?
I would go pure value, meaning trying to get someone as cheap as you can and see if you could pick up something like a Marcus Mariota for really cheap.
I just don't think he's going to be that cheap. What about you?
I don't think he
Brian?
will either, but I can't think of anyone else who would be even cheaper. That's the problem.
Michael O'Malley says Tannehill. What about you, Brian?
So Nick Bellino and I had this conversation. I was telling him that the Steelers would have been 12-4 and in the AFC Championship game if Ryan Fitzpatrick was their backup to start the season. I would get a guy like Ryan Fitzpatrick.
He's still under contract for another year in Miami, though, isn't he?
No, I have him as a 2020 free agent.
Oh, did you? I didn't know. Maybe they might have had a club option or something an option on him. I don't know. I was thinking
according to
he originally
signed.
I thought he originally signed a 2-year deal, but
maybe. Oh, actually, no. Maybe I'm wrong. So scratch that. That was. I mean, and anybody that's saying I am wrong, so please, you are right. And,
I don't know. Wes says he's a free agent, and Wes usually does.
Okay, yeah, and Wes is pretty good. You know, I would take a Matt Moore. I would take look. I'm not looking to get a Mariota or a Teddy Bridgewater. That's not happening. Teddy Bridgewater's not coming. Everybody brings him up every time. You can't afford him. But if you get a guy like Fitzpatrick, and I keep on saying Matt Moore, and the reason I say this guy is because the Chiefs didn't fall apart when he came in for 3 games. You want to have that veteran guy that is a solid backup. Case Keenum would be my ultimate guy. I think they're in the AFC Championship game.
Loves him some Case.
With Case Keenum.
The one thing I want to say here, and this is not just for this show, but I'll probably end up saying it every show. When we talk about, hey, if there's a guy out there that you would like to add to the roster, if you're watching this live on YouTube, and if you didn't know we have a YouTube channel, you can find us. You search BTSC Steelers Radio. Subscribe to the channel. Like the videos. But if you want to, please, I wrote this article today for the site. You have to, this is not fantasy land, people. Okay, don't confuse that with Randy Lane, but this is not fantasy land. All right, you can't say, like Brian just said, let's go get Teddy Bridgewater. What? Go ahead, Dave, say it.
With what money?
Exactly. And then people will say, well, we should trade up and get the 2nd round pick and take Tua, and he could be no. It doesn't work that way. My goodness, stop. You know, I mean, it's insane how some people think that, well, you know, the salary cap will just expand by $100 million this year and we'll be fine. Yeah, that's fine. You know, but
you know what Ian's guys need to do? You need to go get one of them GoFundMe pages and that, and then you get enough money and Teddy Bridgewater come. My cousin knows Teddy. He'll come. Just get a GoFundMe page. He'll do it. Steeler fans, they'll give their money in there. They'll put their money in there.
Right. But I think it was someone on my Steelers Burning Question this past Saturday, and we were talking about some of these players, and someone brought up some ludicrous names, and someone commented, I think it was Isaac, who said, this isn't Madden. Okay, this is real life.
That's
Like,
what I
you
was thinking.
can't. This is not this isn't how it works, people. So I'm not saying, I know it's all hypothetical, and that's what Ryan Kellerman said. It's all hypothetical. It is, but let's talk with a little bit of realism when we mention some of these players, because there are some players out there that you could say that's a realistic option. Case Keenum, I don't know if there's a market for him. I would say that his market is too hefty even for Pittsburgh at this time.
Probably.
Wes says that Ryan Fitzpatrick is still under contract in Miami until 2021. So he's off the table. And I don't even think he would be an option for the Steelers. They're going to have to go like the Hoyer route. Maybe someone like Hoyer could be a guy, but I just don't. Yeah, I don't know.
Honestly, I think it would have to be someone who was out of the league last year that's just looking to get back in.
Maybe
like an Osweiler. He was nowhere, was he? But is that better than what you got?
Osweiler ended up in Indianapolis.
Oh, he did. He wasn't there. He wasn't there for the whole season.
When that guy, whoever their quarterback was, Luck.
Flacco?
No, Luck. When Mr. Andrew Luck went down, when actually retired, what happened was they had this little sweepstakes for the quarterback, and ended up going to Brock Osweiler to be in there. But when it was time for when he went out, who did they bring in that almost killed Pittsburgh in that game? It wasn't who's the backup when
you honestly you know the answer to this. You're trying to.
Does.
He does. It was Brian Hoyer.
Yeah, it was old Hoyer. All right, that's enough quarterback talk.
Yes.
Everybody in the live chat's even saying they're not going to. Yeah, we said they're not going to go. They painted themselves into a corner. They've hitched their wagon to the old number 7 for another 2 years. It's just the way it is. So there you have it. All right, Dave, let's get into some trivia. We all three have trivia questions, so put on your dunce cap. It's time to get to trivia. Dave, go ahead.
All right. Well, this was when Brian wasn't sure if he was going to be able to join us tonight, so I thought I had to have something easy enough for Jeff. So,
whoa.
So Brian's going to crush this one.
Whoa.
Okay. I just thought, okay, well, let's.
Oh man,
that's JuJu fired back. That's what that is.
I'm ready. I'm ready.
Okay, I'm sorry. All right. Since we're doing quarterbacks, I wanted to look at it. We all know that Ben Roethlisberger has started the most games as a quarterback of any Pittsburgh Steeler by a lot, by 60 games.
Okay.
Over the number 2 would be second most
Terry
Bradshaw. Do you know who's third?
I'm going to go Cordell Stewart.
Brian? You look like you're about to say something.
Okay, so third most starts.
Third most starts as a Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback.
And so we have Ben and Terry Bradshaw.
This was from 1950 on, but I'll be honest with you, it could have been post-merger from 70 on.
Okay. So I'm going to look at this. If I'm looking at Cordell, 97, 98, 99, 2000, 2001, that's more than O'Donnell.
That's your boy. That's your boy.
It would have to be Cordell.
Jeff, and you are both correct. It was Cordell Stewart. He was next to then Neil O'Donnell. And then fifth on the list would be
the great Bubby.
It would be Bubby Brister.
Yes.
Followed by Mark Malone. And then we get into some guys from the 50s, which we didn't know. Now, like I said, this was all from 1950 on. I don't think there was anyone who had more starts, from 33 through 49. Here's the one thing that's interesting. Where's Mason Rudolph fall? From 1950 on.
Starts?
Yeah.
Probably top 10.
Oh, no. But no, shockingly, he's 21st, one game behind Charlie Batch. So when it comes to, I mean, think he played part of the season. He started half the games of the season, and that puts you in the top 25 for the number of Steelers quarterback. That's how much Ben Roethlisberger and Terry Bradshaw has really dominated the position. For other guys you would know, Tommy Maddox was 9.
Time again.
And Mike Tomczak was 10.
So, and Tommy Maddox probably started I would say he started 13 games in 2002, maybe.
Started 2-04. He started 2-04.
Yeah, started 2-04. So, and then the 2013 debacle. So he probably, I would probably say that he's had about 26 to 30 games.
Wait, who was that? You said Tommy
Maddox.
34.
Wow.
34 starts. So someone mentioned in the live chat, they're like, well, where's Byron Leftwich? How many starts does Byron Leftwich have?
One. It was against Baltimore. It was on Sunday Night Football, and he got
hurt.
The
Bumblebees.
Yes, and remember he had that long run for a touchdown. He hurt himself on that play.
Yes, he did.
They lost that game. That was disappointing.
So, all right,
Jeff, that's good. All right, so I'm going to stick with the quarterback theme here. Now, everyone talks about the Steelers' head coaching trio. And someone made a comment, I think it was a YouTube comment, like, they've had more than 3 coaches. Yes, I know they've had more than 3 coaches, but everyone talks about the last 3, and that dates back to what year?
1969.
1969. That was Chuck Noll's first year.
Just say post-merger. Just say post-merger.
No, because
that was
69.
in 70. So,
No, I'm not saying post-merger. I'm saying since 1969. Who was the first quarterback drafted by Chuck Noll? I'm thinking Bryan might know this one.
I'm going to say it's not Terry Hanratty because I think he was there right before Chuck Noll. So I'm going to say Jefferson Street Joe Gilliam.
Dave?
What's sad is I actually saw this last week and I can't remember what it is. I think Bryan might be right.
If you thought it was Terry Hanratty, you are correct. In the second round of the 1969 draft, I think a lot of fans might have said they thought it was an easy one with Bradshaw. He was drafted in 70, but in the second round out of Notre Dame, Chuck Noll drafted Terry Hanratty in 1969.
Really interesting.
The very first draft. And the guy that I worked with, Bob Campbell, was drafted in the 4th round that year out of Penn State, running back, kick returner. Anyways, second question. So I was curious, who was Bill Cowher's first quarterback drafted? So I looked up in 1992, Bill Cowher's first draft as the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, no one's going to get this. If Bryan, if you get this, I will watch whatever game you want at your house, okay? Because this was in the 12th round of
Star Wars.
Can you give me? Can you give me the year?
It was in 1992. It was his first year as a head coach in the 12th round of that draft. They still had that many rounds in that time. Who was the first quarterback? I've never even heard of this guy, just so you know.
I bet you I've heard of him. It was not Scott Campbell. Scott Campbell was from Purdue, was a Chuck Noll guy in like 86.
This gentleman played for UConn, University of Connecticut. They're known for their quarterbacks. No, they're not.
The only UConn quarterback I know from that time was Brandon Bailey, head coach of the Richland Rams. I don't know.
Cornelius Benton. Exactly. I had no idea.
No, I would have never had that.
12th round, Bill Cowher took a quarterback. He took a quarterback in the 12th round. I knew no one was going to get that. I just was curious because I looked up. I could have swore because I was sitting there in my office. I was like, I think that Chuck Noll drafted a quarterback before Bradshaw. And I knew we were talking about quarterbacks. So I went back in 1969 and darn it, there it was. Terry Hanratty out of Notre Dame in the 2nd round. And then I just got curious and thought, well, I should have looked up Mike Tomlin, who the first quarterback that he drafted was. We could probably figure it out.
Was that Bryan St. Pierre?
Was he was a Cowher guy, wasn't he?
Was he?
Yeah, St. Pierre was a Bill Cowher
I was
guy,
thinking Dennis Dixon.
I would probably say Dennis Dixon because it was 97. Yeah, 97 and that. I mean, excuse me, 07 and I think 09 was Dixon, unless there was somebody in the or maybe it was 08.
I don't think.
Yeah, I don't think he ever drafted a quarterback.
There you. Well, he
did before Dixon.
Yeah,
before Dixon. Yeah.
And then after Dixon was Landry Jones, and then we've obviously had Mason Rudolph since then. Which, by the way, not to steal your thunder here, Bryan. Anyone read the article by ESPN about Landry Jones and his XFL debut coming up this weekend?
Yes, I did.
Possibly. He has a knee injury. We'll talk about that in the after party. Remind me. Okay, go ahead, Brian. I know you have a trivia question.
Okay, so you mentioned Bryan St. Pierre from the University of Boston College. Well, actually, just Boston College, I guess, not University of. But the Steelers drafted another quarterback out of Boston College in the 70s. His name was Mike Krusick, number 15. If you recall, when Ben Roethlisberger was going on his great rookie run with consecutive wins, they brought up Mike Krusick a lot because he won his first 6 consecutive starts in the NFL when Terry Bradshaw went down. But during that time, he did not accomplish something. And what was it that he never accomplished as an NFL quarterback?
I knew this. I actually looked that up with the number of starts.
Oh my gosh, he was at
Holy cow.
Amateur hour. That's the ding.
Yeah.
Amateur hour time.
Time's up. No, because I actually do that because I was going to actually use that as a question about the only Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback with more than 5 starts that's never lost a game, and that was the answer. But did he throw a touchdown in any of those games?
He has never thrown a touchdown pass in his career.
That's what I thought, that he won all the games, but no passing TDs.
Never threw a TD pass. In fact, he was 0 touchdown passes, 8 interceptions in his career.
Ouch.
But won 6 games.
Well, we saw plenty of those in 04 where Ben didn't play that well and the defense bailed him out and the running game did their job. So there you go. Okay. Chris Boyd with your when your phone went off, the bell, he said the Hot Pockets are ready.
Oh, you know, when I was at the grocery store tonight and I looked at my daughter, I'm like, you would like Hot Pockets. And she's like, yeah. I'm like, no, I want a Hot Pocket.
How can anyone eat Hot Pockets after the Jim Gaffigan sketch?
Hot Pockets.
You know, the funniest, I know this isn't the after party, but
What a Hot Pocket.
My wife compares me to the King of Queens a lot. And there's a very special beginning of the episode where he sees the note that they're getting fumigated and he can't be in there. He's like, all right, we started my Hot Pocket. And then the fumigation comes in and he starts to pass out. And then you hear ding. And then you just see his hand come out, open the microphone, and grab the Hot Pocket.
All right. So, folks, this is typically the time where we close this show and close this chapter with the Steelers preview, and we go over to the after party, which we have a lot more laughing. We still do talk about the Steelers, so come on over, hang with us for a little bit, and trust me, you won't regret it. So just sit tight and about... Yeah, I see what Chris Boyd right there. Sit tight. In about 3 or 4 minutes, we'll be back live on the Steelers after party. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week for another Steelers preview.